You have one message. Message 1.
Hey, Drew. Tony from Victory. 12:30 in the morning in Chicago. Just saw the video, man. Victory proof, huh? I'm going to sue you, boy. Do you hear me, son? I'm going to sue you. You're going to get sued, son. Be careful. Get your lawyers ready, because you're going to get sued.
We actually just put out a new record. It's called Common Courtesy, and we're in a lawsuit with our label. So we actually self-funded and released it independently during that lawsuit, and our fan base completely supported the whole thing. It went on to be one of the fastest selling records we've ever had. So,
Are you guys okay with the lawsuit settling?
I mean, it hasn't settled, so it's kind of just going on in the background, but we were able to put it out, and our fan base supported it. So we wouldn't be a band right now without it. So.
Absolutely.
It's a misunderstanding that we're trying to sort out, that's all. Like, we took something differently than they say they meant it, so we're just gonna see how they feel about it and move on from there. People blew it out of proportion, like, people were like, oh, well, this happened today, or this is being announced. It was never supposed to be announced. It was public record. It's not a big deal. It's just like a, hey, we think this, they don't agree. So that's all it is. Like, regardless of where the record comes out, it comes out. Like, that's our main focus. We're just gonna write music, play music, and we will have a new record out in 2012. So it doesn't really matter to us. Whatever happens, happens.
Hello fellow emos and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be exploring the wild story of A Day to Remember and their legal battle against Victory Records. If you're not already subscribed, then please do hit the subscribe button. I post new videos weekly, and as always, MCR5 2024, it is so real. It is so happening. You just gotta keep the faith. Let's go. For those who might not know, A Day to Remember is one of the most iconic bands in the scene. If you're not familiar for whatever reason, then you need to check them out because you're missing out for real. They've given us so many bops over the years and so many iconic lines such as, I hate this town, it's so washed up, and all my friends don't give a... I'm quickly going to get into their history. A Day to Remember was formed in 2003 in Florida, and they self-released their first EP, Halos for Heroes, Dirt for the Dead, in 2004. They then released a second EP called A Day to Remember the following year. This led to the band being signed with Indianola Records, a small independent label that specialized in alt music. This then allowed the band to record and release their debut album, and their name was Treason. The success of their debut album then allowed them to sign with Victory Records, which, if you watched my Hawthorne Heights video, then you know it's not as good as it may first appear. Keep in mind, A Day to Remember signed with Victory when they were all very young. I think I read somewhere that the average age was like 18 and a half years old, and they were very new to the music industry. A theme that is very consistent with Victory, allegedly, supposedly, whatever. Okay, but what is Victory Records? This is just going to be a copy and paste from my Hawthorne Heights videos, so respectfully, I felt it was redundant writing a new summary. I am so sorry. Victory Records is a record label that was founded in 1989 by Tony Brummel, and it focused on alt music. Victory Records is perhaps one of the most controversial and scummy record labels in the scene. Allegedly, supposedly, whatever, you know the drill, don't sue me. And I will definitely be making more videos on them in the future because, yeah, there are more bands that had issues with Victory. However, when A Day to Remember first signed with Victory in 2006, their reputation wasn't as tarnished, and also remember the internet was not what it is today, so any scummy behavior on Victory's behalf could have easily been kept behind closed doors, and as always, that is just speculation, you know? I had only just gotten into emo in 2006, I don't know, wasn't there? Victory has worked with a ton of iconic bands within the scene, including Hawthorne Heights, Thursday, and Taking Back Sunday. When Concord acquired Victory in 2019, it had around 4,500 recordings, which is a lot of music, you know? Okay, so we know who both parties are. Let's talk about them working together. Having signed with Victory in 2006, A Day to Remember soon got to work and recorded and released their second album, For Those Who Have Heart, after which they began touring heavily. They then released a remastered version of their first album, And Their Name Was Treason, and then quickly got to work on their third album, Homesick, which is of course the record that really catapulted their career. Some of the most notable songs from the album are The Downfall of Us All, I'm Made of Wax Larry, What Are You Made Of, Have Faith in Me, and If It Means a Lot to You. Homesick sold over 22,000 records in its first week, which is more than their second album had sold up until that point in its entirety. It hit number 1 on the US Billboard Independent Albums chart, number 21 on the US Billboard 200, and number 165 on the UK Albums chart. The success of this album meant that the band were pushed to tour even more heavily afterwards, but that didn't stop them from releasing yet another album the following year called What Separates Me From You. For those who are keeping track, that is 3 albums in 3 years on top of consistent and heavy touring. Victory really had them working round the clock. What Separates Me From You, their third album, was extremely commercially successful, and it hit number 11 on the US Billboard 200 chart, number 1 on the US Independent Albums chart, number 1 on the UK Rock and Metal Albums chart, and number 24 on the Australian Albums chart. The album had sold 80,000 copies by the end of the year, and A Day to Remember were at the top of the game, and at the top of the scene. But like they say, what goes up must come down, and in 2011, a year after releasing What Separates Me From You, A Day to Remember filed a lawsuit against Victory Records, alleging breach of contract. Neither the band nor Victory made this public, but since court filings are public record, it quickly became international news. This led both parties to make public statements about the matter. Victory Records released the following statement. Recent reports of claims filed by the Victory artist A Day to Remember in litigation presently pending in the U.S. District Court in the Northern District of Illinois have misleadingly stated that the principal issue in the case concerns the payment of royalties. The lawsuit, filed shortly after the band hired new management, is really about the band's refusal to fulfill their 5-album contractual commitment to Victory and their newfound desire to move to a major label. Recycled and often apocryphal stories of misguided and unsuccessful attempts by a few Victory bands to jump ship from the label and that put them on the map have one common truthful thread: they always end badly for the band. In those cases, the bands eventually seek reconciliation and often ask to return to the Victory fold after having been disappointed by their post-Victory experiences. Victory is confident that the dispute will be resolved to the satisfaction of both the band and Victory, and that A Day to Remember will continue to deliver great music to Victory in the coming years. Victory continues to honor its commitment to A Day to Remember by placing significant resources behind the band's current album, What Separates Me From You, which continues to climb the charts and meet or exceed Victory's expectations. The band, in the meantime, has enjoyed the benefits of the hundreds of thousands of dollars in record royalties generated from the album sales, which Victory accounts for in full compliance with its contract. Victory's job remains the same: work hard, sell records, and abide by agreements. A Day to Remember responded with, A Day to Remember would like to make it clear that they did not announce nor seek any attention regarding their ongoing suit with Victory Records. This information has been public record since May of 2011, and they have no intention of speaking publicly or despairingly regarding their disagreement with Victory. A Day to Remember will continue to release music for their fans and are looking forward to touring in 2012. In their claim, A Day to Remember said that they had filled their 5-album deal with Victory Records. By their count, they had actually released 8 albums under Victory. I know I only counted 3 albums, but they also released re-releases, live albums, and an EP. A Day to Remember firmly believed all of those should count towards their contract. They also stated that Victory was falsely claiming ownership of recordings that should have belonged to the band. Furthermore, they claimed that Victory was allegedly holding back cash they earned from merch sales. Plus, there was also an extra $100,000 that Victory supposedly was withholding as a penalty over dispute about merch sales rights. They wanted the court to declare that they had fulfilled their contract so they could finally move on and sign with other labels, that they owned all of their sound recording copyrights, and they also asked for detailed accounting from Victory to see if there was any money still owed to them. On top of that, they wanted damages and attorney fees, of course. Victory responded by claiming that A Day to Remember owed them more album as per their contract, that they owed the band no money, and that the band had illegally impacted the label's merch deals. Lawsuits move very slowly, and so during this time, A Day to Remember recorded their next album, Common Courtesy, which they wanted to self-release. However, Victory wasn't going to let that happen without a fight, and so they sought an injunction. The court denied the injunction, allowing the band to release the album, which of course they did. In response to the court ruling, the band said, "In May of 2011, we joined the long list of bands that have filed suit against Victory Records. Although our case is still ongoing, we are very pleased with the judge's decision to allow us to release our next record. The only thing that has mattered to us when dealing with this lawsuit was getting new music to our fans. We are finally going to do that on October 8th, and we couldn't be more excited." Victory put out their own statement, which read, "While Victory is disappointed with the ruling and disagrees with the court's conclusions, it comes as no surprise. Courts rarely grant negative injunctions of this nature, but the circumstances of this case presented a unique opportunity for such a ruling. Having said that, in denying Victory's motions, the court reasoning actually contained silver linings that significantly favored Victory. First, the court held that it supports Victory's argument about the construction of the recording contract, that A Day to Remember is still obligated to deliver 2 more albums to Victory, at least equally, if not more so than offered by A Day to Remember. That is the core issue in this case, and the only one that really matters in the end, so Victory is heartened that the court agreed with Victory's position on that core issue. Also, the sole basis for the court's denial of the injunction was that Victory would not suffer irreparable harm that could not be compensated by money damages if the album were to be self-released. And that is ample evidence to prove its damages against the band in the form of lost profits if A Day to Remember does proceed to self-release Common Courtesy. That is, even if the band self-releases it, Victory is likely to be awarded any profits that the band make on that album, plus additional lost profits suffered by Victory, based on the fact that Victory would undeniably do a far better job at marketing the album had Victory released it, which is what Victory is known for, and is the reason why A Day to Remember signed with Victory in the first place. In sum, it is a successful defeat in a way, and one which Victory welcomed because of the manner in which the court rendered its opinion. The case will proceed to trial, and Victory is looking forward to the opportunity to vindicate the baseless claims filed by A Day to Remember. Victory later clarified that the denial of the injunction didn't mean that A Day to Remember had won the overall lawsuit, as some publications were falsely reporting. I'm reading some blogs that A Day to Remember won their legal battle. This is not at all what happened today. This ruling is strictly limited to Victory's request for a negative injunction. In other words, it involves a small battle in a dispute that will only be resolved after a trial next year. My point was that the court's reasoning today was favourable for Victory, and that it forecasts what I believe will be a victory for Victory in the end. Excuse the unintended pun. Common Courtesy has a song on it called The Document Speaks for Itself, which is about Tony Brummel, the owner of Victory. In fact, the voice recording I played at the beginning of this video comes from the original version of the song. Yes, it's allegedly a real voicemail Tony sent. I assume that the band had to remove it for legal reasons, but of course it lives on thanks to the internet. The lyrics of The Document Speaks for Itself are so direct and really highlight exactly how the band felt about Tony and Victory. Some highlights include, "Do you even sleep at night? Where does your conscience run to hide? How's living a lie? You never could face me, and you hide behind fake personalities because deep down you're scared, so weak beyond compare, no fucking respect. All hail the thief, forever trying to separate you and me." Ouch. At some point during this period, Victory successfully petitioned to move the lawsuit jurisdiction from Tennessee to Illinois. And now we fast forward to 2016, 5 years after the band first filed their suit, and A Day to Remember released another album, Bad Vibrations. Later the year, the outcome of the lawsuit was finally announced. A Day to Remember mostly won their suit and were awarded $4 million in damages. The jury decided that the band had fulfilled their 5-album contract, were owed royalties and owed the composition rights to their songs. However, it was decided that Victory owned the recordings. This meant that Victory could keep selling the band's albums and pay royalties to them, but the band members also had the freedom to license their music as they saw fit. The band released the following statement in response to their victory, pun intended, of course. As many of you know, more than 5 years ago we filed a lawsuit against Victory Records, seeking freedom and resolution on several issues we had with them. For the past 2 weeks we have been in court arguing our case. Yesterday the jury came back with a unanimous verdict in the trial, granting us the freedom and resolution. Thank you to the fan base for supporting us through this difficult time. We couldn't have done this without you. This isn't just a victory for us, but also a victory for every band wronged over the years. Right doesn't always win, but yesterday it did. Victory's lawyer, in a statement, pointed out that $2.8 million of this decision covers royalties and interest on those royalties, which the label owed A Day to Remember regardless, since, among other reasons, Victory stopped paying out royalties in 2012, following what Victory construed as a breach of the merchandising clause of its contract. The other $1.2 million is related to a claim over incorrectly withheld reserves. He also added that Victory had plans to appeal this part of the verdict. However, I couldn't find any evidence that an appeal was actually launched, and so I just assumed it wasn't filed. And as we're all probably aware, A Day to Remember continue to be one of the biggest bands in the scene. They've continued to release new music, with their last album, You're Welcome, having been released in 2021. Despite the lawsuit being dragged out over so many years, it doesn't seem like it held the band back much, and good on them for winning against Victory Records. Many bands have tried, not many have been successful, so good for them. And that's it. That is where I'm going to leave the video for now. Like I said previously, I'd love to do more videos on Victory Records, because quite frankly, they have a long and shameless history, in my opinion. Allegedly, that is speculation, whatever, you know the drill. And if you've learned anything from today's video, is to always have a good lawyer read your contracts. Thank you for watching and sticking around to the end. If you have any requests for future topics, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next week. Okay, thanks, bye.